last week, what happened is people came in and they're like, man, isn't there a faster way to find cash buyers? And I said, yeah, there is, but it costs money. And it was interesting. It took us 2 hours to kind of navigate without money. And so we decided today we'll give you guys some ninja tactics and some fun things to learn how to use Propstream a little bit more efficiently. So Burton, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me go ahead and get my screen over to you guys here, and let me know if you guys can see Propstream on the screen. Okay, awesome. So keeping it simple, the first thing you're probably thinking is my market a good market? So search your market. So I'm in Southern California, but let's say I decide to go to Colorado Springs. Type that in first. So feel free to type in that city or a county or a zip code, okay? So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is search your market. And I know this is gonna sound weird, but then hit clear all right away, right? Just the reason I'm having you do this is when you search an environment, it pushes the satellite image there. And when you hit clear all, it allows you to see more of the map, no red pins or anything like that. Now, the reason I want you to do that is I want you to then use our heat map here at the top right. So here at the top right, it's called analytics, AKA the heat map. And there are
all right, guys, somebody needs to take notes of this and keep putting in the side, because step one is choose your market, whatever it is. Okay. Yep. Step one, choose your market. Then when it pops up in that market, what are we going to do? We're going to immediately press clear all. Now we're sitting there over, the city that we're looking at, and Burton is telling us we're going to go to the heat map. This is dope, bro. Everybody loves a good heat map.
Absolutely. And I'm a sucker for one too.
Yeah.
So in our heat map, there's 4 categories to choose from. The one that is going to be very important for this demonstration is the price growth. So it's going to start at estimated value. So click on price growth. Now, nothing's going to happen just yet, because you need to go right below that and choose a subcategory. Now, the subcategory for price growth is actually a time frame. I'd like to see a 1-month growth in this environment. I like to see a 6-month growth. The default, or the ones that most people tend to use, are the 1 or 3 year, or actually 6 and 1 year are the most popular one. So let's just say this. Show me how this environment has grown in the last year. And now I'm going to get this color code on this map, and I'm going to be able to see this legend here. And the legend is telling me that red are areas that have had 100% growth. Light blue are areas that have taken a loss. And then green, light green, these are everything in between, right? Maybe slight growth, slight loss. What we're trying to look for is kind of a more orange-red shade. So let me just zoom in on my Propstream a little bit here. But as you can see, we have kind of like a dark orange yellow shade. And feel free to keep zooming in on the map so you can scroll in or double click to get a better visual. So now we can see what areas within Colorado Springs are starting to grow pretty well. So first, search your market, then hit clear all, followed by going to the heat map, price growth, and then choose a time frame. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 3 years, just to double check if this is an area that's growing, right?
Holy moly, talk about growth, huh?
Right. I mean, even 6 months. I mean, this year has been pretty weird, to say the least, right? You list the property and people are like bidding for it, right? So 6 months could be good. So market, clear all, heat map, and then choose the time frame.
Is growth does that mean, so you said price growth, so that means like prices are going up, which
value. Yes.
Love it. So let's say that I'm a fix and flipper, right? I renovate houses and I put them on the market. That's a really great environment for me to be in, because I can buy a house while I'm renovating. It's actually going up in value, right? So that's a super hot area. It's easy for fix and flippers to thrive in that area. Is that what we're learning here?
Exactly. So what we're looking at is the areas that are red, just like you mentioned, those numbers are increasing. The numbers I'm referring to is the estimated value of a property. Now, the only way an estimated value is going to ever increase if there's a sell record that forces that increase. So the areas where there's red markers, that's the areas where there's a bunch of fix and flippers. And if you actually want to now source that information, here's my recommendation. On the opposite end of the map is our draw search feature. And this allows you to draw out your own area. So here's how I do it. I click on it once, and then now I can go onto the map, and through several left clicks, I can create my own shaded area. Now this area right here in the last 6 months, we're seeing a lot of red.
Dots.
So I'm going to start here at the upper left-hand side. I'm going to left click and let go, then head on over the right side, left click and let go. And as you can see, I'm making my own shaded area through several left clicks. And after I do that, I just strike enter on the keyboard, and Propstream is just going to give you the results in this shaded area. And one of the key components that you should probably be paying attention to, box right here, your cash buyers.
529 cash buyers.
Yeah. And you can also either stop right here, or if you like to, filter it just a little bit, we have a filter here at the top right.
Show us what that filter looks like just real quick. I don't want to deviate, but
yeah.
What do we got? What other options do we have for cash buyers? Can we say how many houses they've bought in the last year?
Yes, absolutely. So some of the best practices I would recommend when building a buyer's list is go into our ownership info right here. And you can specify whether you want to talk to a person or an LLC, right? So you can go to owner type and say, show me the individual buyers. So that way we can build that rapport with them, etc. And as Pace mentioned, you can even separate the buyers that just bought their first property versus the buyers that have tons of properties using our numbers of properties owned filter. So in this sense, I would say, let me look for the buyers that have maybe 4 properties or more under their belt. That way, if we do get a contract, it's probably going to move fast, right? These aren't buyers that just bought a property and they're going to tell us they can buy it and then it's not going to go through, right? So buyers that have more properties, because it's going to let me know they're serious. And these are buy and hold buyers as well. If they have 4 properties or more under their portfolio, they're probably a fix and flipper, and they probably think about long-term investment as well. So they might see your contract differently than someone who's just fixing and flipping as well.
Yeah, because fix and flippers just look at how can I buy this thing incredibly low. Long-term buy and hold investors will look at that and go, hey, man, I can pay 90 cents on the dollar for that deal.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I notice a lot of investors that are buy and hold investors, like they actually have options. They'll either buy and hold, fix and flip, or wholesale it to somebody else, right? Like I just noticed that that's their behavior. So again, from my experience, someone who has properties under their portfolio looks at things differently than someone like Pace mentioned, who's just in here to buy it and sell it within 6 months or less.
Yeah. So guys, when people send us opportunities, we do the same thing. We look at it and we go, okay, if they send it to us, we look at it from a fix and flip standpoint first, because that's immediate, quick cash, right? Within 3 months, 4 months, sometimes top, we'll get a nice little payout. And then if it doesn't work out for that, well, then we'll look at it and go, okay, well, could we do a burst strategy, or, could we buy this in cash and hold this? Is this a house that we really want to keep in our portfolio? So I like the 4 properties or more, because it really weeds out people that are just looky-loos. Maybe they've just bought 1 house in the last year. Like Burton said, I don't want to send them a contract and not have somebody that's serious about looking at the house. If they have 4 houses, they're probably pretty serious about real estate.
I agree. You couldn't say it any better than that. And the last best practice I would say, see a lot of investors do, is the last sell date. You can distinguish, again, who's more aggressive versus others by seeing if they've bought something recently. So in last sell date, what I normally see people do is put a starting point. So maybe it's a year back exactly, or maybe 2 years back. So what you're saying here is, show me someone who's a cash buyer with 4 or more properties, and they bought something in the last 2 years. They're active, essentially. So I'll go back to 2019, September 11th. And then here are my 6 cash buyers that have 4 properties or more within this shaded environment here that we created that already has growth. You see how it's all kind of, I like to call it like the domino effect. We went from not knowing to using the heat map to know where, search, the draw search to get results, and then the filters to generate those aggressive cash buyers that we need.
We want aggressive cash buyers.
So this is the first way I would say that you can go about building your lists. And then just like normal, you guys can check off your results and then hit add to list to create a list. Remember, if you're in the trial period, this is your first 6 right here. You can export that and do whatever you like. And you still got 44 more to go.
Let me hit that one more time. So guys, Propstream gives you guys a free trial. I did find the link. So if you guys decide to use that and you want to go get 50 records is basically what they're giving you. So I can use those records for sellers, right? Motivated sellers, maybe pull foreclosure or whatever, or I could use those for cash buyers. And Burton just showed you how to use the heat map, how to use the filter to go in and find what he just said, aggressive cash buyers. I have not actually heard anybody say that. I'm going to start using that and quote you.
Oh, no worries,
I love
buddy.
that. I want aggressive cash buyers. I want people who are frequently buying and have bought multiple properties. That's an aggressive cash buyer. Now, a couple comments in the side chat. Just want to hit them real quick. Marika, which that's my sister's name. She says, do you call them and pre-qualify them first, Pace? So Marika, last week, which I think you might have missed this, we were literally just calling cash buyers. My wife and I were on here teaching Asher and everybody else how to find cash buyers without spending any money. It takes a lot more time. And you guys see how fast this was to find those cash buyers. It took a lot more time with the free method, but there is free methods to do this. And then we just called cash buyers and had conversations with them and said, hey, I want to send you opportunities. What's your email? What are you buying? What are you not buying? And we did that on a recorded Zoom. So if you haven't, who's watched that? And who feels like I need to resend out that Zoom link so you guys can go back and rewatch that? Has everybody seen that? Give me a yes in the comments, guys. Okay, if you have not seen it, everybody signed up for this, I'll make sure that it gets emailed out to you guys so you can go back and watch Zoom number 1, Zoom number 2, and Zoom number 3. Okay. Eric Flores says, anyone have the list from that deal? Yeah, all Subto students ended up getting that list. I think I got to send it out to everybody. So, Burton, is that the way to find if my market's a hot market?
Yeah, that's one way to find if an environment in your market is a hot market. Another way I would say to find a hot market is to do this. So let me clear everything out really quick. This is actually a route I like to take just to see if, this market is really a hot market. So the first thing you want to do is search either a city level or a county. So this is going to depend on your capability, okay? So let's say, Pace, you're in Phoenix, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say we're going to use Phoenix, for example. Now, Phoenix is a huge city. So, what we're going to do is we're first going to pull up Phoenix. And then there's one thing I want everybody to pay attention to, because I don't think a lot of people know we even have this. But anytime you pull up a market, your results are on the right side here. And we have this little tab right here that's sticking out. And if you click on that, it's what I call the spreadsheet view, right? It literally gives you more information to mess with. So here's why I want to show you this. Once you pull up a market, there's this old adage or saying that someone has told me, and you guys have heard it before, follow the money, right?
Yeah.
So here's what you want to do, okay? Pull up your market. Go into the filter. So this applies to a city or a county. And then you can dwindle it down. I'll show you what I mean. But pull up Phoenix, for example, then go into the filter. And we're going to do the same thing we did a few moments ago. So we're going to look for cash buyers that, again, let's make it even more aggressive. Have 6 properties or more, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
Individually owned, maybe corporate owned, really up to you again. And then we're going to put a last sell date. So in this case, I know Phoenix is very popular, so we'll just go back 1 year. 3,700 results. I'm going to hit clear or close at the bottom, and there we go. Now, you remember that little button I told you about?
Yeah.
Right here?
The spreadsheet button.
Go ahead and click on that now. And the cool thing about this is you can click on any header and reorganize that header. The header I want you to click on if you're searching by city is zip code. When you click on that, we're going to organize all the zip codes in numerical order. Now, think about what we just did. We searched Phoenix, and we're looking for cash buyers in the last year that have 6 properties or more. And now I'm breaking them down by zip code. And what you want to do is play this really cool game called whichever zip code has the most results, that's where you need to be at, right? It's a very long game, but that's a game in itself. So as I'm going down this list, I'm seeing 85003 is quite a bunch of results.
Crazy popular. All right, cool.
85004. We can, again, there's a series of 76 pages. So just keep going to the next page and the next page and the next page, and write down all the popular zip codes that you see. Once you have those popular zip codes, it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 15. Just again, rule out the ones that have the most transactions versus the ones that do not, okay? Once you have those 6, 7, 8 zip codes, here's what you can then do. Hit clear all, and you can search up to 5 zip codes in Propstream. So you can do 85004, 85005, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so what we're doing is just we're playing Sherlock Holmes here. We're just saying, hey, I like to see all the buyers in the last year with a lot of properties and what zip code they're in. And then from there, we capture those zip codes with the most transactions, and then we search by them as if what I'm doing right now, search these 2 zip codes. And then now I can just search for the buyers there. Or if you're looking for leads, we have leads there as well. So the spreadsheet
What's interesting
view,
about this, Burton, is, and I'm sure you guys run into this all the time. And by the way, guys, give Burton some love, because there's not many people that can go slow and articulate and keep people engaged as well as Burton. He's 1 in a million. So give this man some love, please. Tell him thank you. He's a great instructor, great communicator. Let him know that, because he's here on a Saturday teaching you guys. So thank you so much, Burton. So I have a simple comment. It's interesting to me when I get people that will say, I can't find a buyer. I can't find a buyer. I can't find a buyer. And I'm like, literally, Burton just showed us in 2 minutes how to find a specific buyer in a specific zip code or a series of zip codes surrounding maybe our property. So let's say that we have like, a house in 85003. Well, dang, I'm going to basically get all the zip codes surrounding that. And I'm going to go out a little bit and I'm going to find all the buyers because I know they're buying in that area. And those are the people that are actively fixing and flipping in there. It is bonkers to me that people will go into like a Facebook group where it's like Phoenix wholesale real estate. And they'll say, where are my cash buyers at? And I'm like, what are you doing? That's not where we find cash buyers. We find cash buyers by doing what Burton just showed you guys. Yeah. Give me a yes if you think that this is like the way to do it. This is 100% the way to do it. It is so simple. It took us 2 minutes to get this information. Now, Burton, how do I extrapolate that information? How do I, like, let's say I've got, can you maybe go down to 1 zip code? And we can change a filter to like, try and get it down to like 20 people or something. Cause I want to ask you a question. Like if I have the free trial, how do I actually utilize my free trial to pull 20 cash buyers? What does that look like? How do I export them? All that kind of stuff. I think will be helpful for people.
Great question. So I'll show you that. And then I got a third way, even more simpler to show you how to find a hot market as well. But first you're going to pull up a zip code. And then once you're in that hot zip code or several zip codes, do what we did earlier, filter cash buyers. And again, remember the best practices. You can look for aggressive buyers by putting a minimum of how many properties they own. Maybe it's 3 today. And then look for ones that recently bought a property. Let's say maybe in the last 120 days, perhaps.
Yeah, I like that.
Here are my 8 cash buyers with 3 or more properties, and they just bought a property in the last 120 days, right?
Guys, there you go. There's your 8 buyers here. And we talk about this all the time. You don't need to have 5,000 cash buyers on a list that you blast out via email. You need 8 people who have actively purchased in the last 120 days near the property that you've got under contract.
There you go. And so since it's under our 50, we can now check them all off, or the one you want. But in this case, we're going to check them all off. And then here to the far right, we're going to need to hit add to list. So this will allow you to create your first marketing list. And when you do that, the first option is, do you want to add it to a list you already have or create a new one? So you'll probably be forced to do this. I just name it whatever you'd like. So 85004 cash buyers, and then hit save. Give it a second or two. It's going to say your list has been saved. Once you save a list, go to the far left. So just take your mouse, head onto the left-hand side, and our toolbar will pop up. And you're going to want to identify my properties. So think of this as like your filing cabinet. Anytime you save a property in Propstream, or in this case, build a list of buyers, go into my properties, and you're going to find that in this marketing list area right here. So there we are. So you're going to click on your lists, and we're only going to show you just the results in that list dead center. At this point, you can now check them all off, or the one that you want, followed by hitting the export button here at the top. And when you do that, we're going to generate an Excel sheet for you, and that is yours. What we will provide you on this Excel sheet is the property that they purchase, the person that purchased that property. Actually, let me just show you here. You'll get the address, the owner's name, and their mailing addresses. That's very common that most of these, here's an example, they bought this address, but the mailing address is entirely different.
So guys, we call that the golden address in our industry, because at the end of the day, the person who bought that property doesn't live there. They're fixing and flipping it. And so you're not going to try and reach out to them at the property they're fixing and flipping. Obviously, they don't live there. You're going to reach out to the actual mailing address, which is typically where they either receive mail or where they actually live, or their business has an office. So make sure you're looking at that address, the mailing address, when you're talking to these people.
Absolutely. And that's pretty much it. So you just went from building a zip code or searching a zip code, finding those buyers in the last 120 days with multiple properties, saving it, and again, heading over to My Properties, click on that list. What you check off and hit export is what's going to be placed on an Excel sheet.
Perfect. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give everybody homework, and Burton, I'm going to no more instruction because I want to make sure we keep this super simple for everybody so they can keep on top of the homework. I do have a couple of questions for you, so stop sharing your screen so everybody can see your handsome face.
Let's go for it.
There he is. Okay, so Burton, a couple of questions. I get this all the time, and I'm sure you have an answer for this, but I get this all the time. People say, well, how do I get the LLC information of a buyer? How do I get a hold of the LLC? Is there a way to skip trace them? And maybe if the answer is yes, and you know how to get a hold of them, we could do another topic all around that specific thing in a couple of weeks. But is there a way that I see all these LLCs buying properties and it doesn't have somebody's name? Is there a way I can actually get a hold of these LLCs?
Yes and no. So normally the answer is no. Within Propstream, in this current version, you cannot skip trace a trust or an LLC or an S Corp at the moment. But the answer ultimately is yes. There is other ways. Usually when a company goes and creates an LLC, that's a public data. So that can be found through means of aggressive research. One way I've found out in my research is that we recently have this feature called linked properties. You don't mind if I show you really quick what that looks like? So let's use our cash buyers with multiple properties, right?
Okay.
One feature that we have is that if I click on let's say this LLC owned property here, when you go into the details of that property within Propstream, we show you this thing called linked properties, and it's all their other properties owned as well, right?
Oh my gosh, 220 properties, $122 million in loans.
Yeah, this is a holding company too, so that looks like this is their business. But the reason I do this is there have been times where I catch a name, and it's the personal address of that person's. Remember, they own a property, but they have other businesses or other properties as well. So we're able to potentially I was able to essentially do a reverse search where I went and clicked on that property they bought, then went into the linked information, and then I found the one that had just a person's name on it, or it actually said their name plus trust at the very end.
Yeah.
And then I clicked on the property, and it just
Love it.
looked like that was the house that they would potentially live in. It wasn't like your typical single family house. This was a pretty well off house out in the quiet areas. And so that was the way I was able to kind of do that research and now identify the mailing address of the home of the owner of that LLC. A little complicated, but that's one way you can go about it, is maybe see if they have other properties in our portfolio and identify them by name that way.